If you have a marketing job interview coming up and if you don't have that much time to prepare for it, this video should cover all the quick tips that you need to prepare to nail this interview. But firstly, I'll start off by saying don't leave your interview prep to the last minute if you can, if this is important to you. But if you can't and you clicked on this video, we're good to go because I'm gonna give you all the tips that I used to nail the best job offer in my life and passed 4 rounds of interviews very recently. But first, let's meet. My name is Elif and I share my learnings of building a marketing career on this channel so that you can shortcut your way to success. If that sounds relevant and interesting, then go ahead and subscribe to the channel for more content and let's get right into it. I'll start off with the thing that you absolutely must do, even if you don't have time for anything else that I'm going to mention in this video, which are also absolutely very essential and important. But if you don't have any time for anything else, this is the thing that you absolutely must do, and that is to put your resume, your cover letter, your LinkedIn page on one side and reread your experiences. What you're going to do is to create a match and connect the dots between your experiences and the job description. I want you to put your information on one side of the screen and the job description, open it up on the side of the screen. Open them on 2 sides of the screen and then reread your profile once again. I know that you might be thinking, but I know what I did in the past, but I want you to again reread and look at the keywords that you've used to describe your own experiences, and then reread the job description. And actually, if it's a paper, then use a highlighter. If it's a PDF, then still use the highlight option or underline option to highlight the keywords in the job description that the employer is calling out for this specific role. I want you to connect the dots between your experiences and the job description, because those keywords and those highlighted skill sets are going to be how you position your conversation and how you position your elevator pitch. So even if you're not prepared for anything else in the interview, at least you can have a very solid elevator pitch and you know why you are there in the first place. Because rereading through the job description and rereading through the company description, which is typically the first piece of a job post, it's going to remind you of the reasons why you applied in the first place, and it's going to give you some conversation points in terms of why you are there, why you want that role, and why you're a good fit, because those are all going to be asked to you in the form of questions. And this little exercise is going to prepare you not only to give an elevator pitch, but also to answer some of the most frequently asked interview questions that you're likely going to get. Which brings me to the second point, knowing your answers to the commonly asked interview questions and having prepared questions of your own as well. So preparing your questions partly comes from rereading that job description, because sometimes as you go through it, you can come up with some additional questions that can help you to understand the role better, or the department or the organization structure a little bit better. So I'm sure as you are rereading, you are going to be noting down some questions about the team structure, the role itself, maybe the technology that they use at that company, or the content frequency, etc. So those kinds of details that you can pick up from the job description is one thing, but the other part is obviously when you are doing your research on the company, on the hiring manager, on the news around the company, the industry, etc. The other questions come from that piece, which we're going to come to in a moment. But let's get back to the commonly asked interview questions. So this is something that if you have time, if you have already done the first step that I mentioned, and if you have a little bit more time, then I want you to go ahead and take a look at some of the commonly asked interview questions and prepare your answers, hypothetical answers that you want to give in the interview to these commonly asked questions, such as, why us? Why are you choosing this role? Why do you think you're a good fit? Why do you want to work on this team? Tell us about a relevant experience. What was a big challenge that you faced and how did you resolve? Tell us about a conflict. Tell us about how you work in teams and how you work individually. Tell us about the most proud success, or tell us about the most proud moment or milestone in your career, and so on and so forth. So if you have more time to prepare your answers for these questions, then I do have 2 relevant content around this one where I do go into more details about sample examples and what these questions are. So I'll link both of them in the description box below for you to check them out if you have more time. If you don't have more time, but if you just want to read through what these questions are, I have them all in my marketing hub as templates that I refer to whenever I am preparing for interviews as well. If you're interested, go ahead and check that out as well. You're going to see the information in the description box right below. Next step of your preparation is going to be browsing through the company website, social media channels, and blog, newsletter, YouTube channel, videos, etc. So I know this is last minute interview tips and you're not going to have extensive time to go through the details of everything and read through all the material across all the platforms, but I still want you to at least open the company website, take a look at their products, take a look at the latest marketing campaign they delivered, take a look at the CTAs, just skim through the homepage and the product page or the pricing page and skim through the way they communicated, the way they used buttons, maybe the way they place the CTA for their newsletter, if there is a newsletter at all, maybe take a look at all of these things. Even if it means just a couple of minutes of skimming through the website, still take those couple of minutes and do this little exercise as well, because it's gonna, again, give you more confidence during the interview. And if the interviewer asks you anything around their website, have you taken a look at our website? What did you think about our blog? At least you have a little bit of an impression and something to talk about versus, sorry, I actually did not have any time to check through your website, which is unfortunately going to give a very negative impression. So please try to avoid doing that by taking a couple of minutes, doing a very quick skim through. Next step of my preparation that I never ever skip to do is to study or research the interviewer that I'm going to be meeting in that interview. And I do this for every single person that I meet throughout that process, and not just only for the first person that I meet. I search for them on LinkedIn, I search for them on Twitter, maybe even YouTube if they're a creator. I take a look at their past activity, I take a look at their bios, what are they working on, what's their current job title, what is the relationship between their job title and the title that I am applying for or interviewing for. How do they describe their role if they have written a description, obviously, on LinkedIn? What kind of posts or people do they engage with on LinkedIn or Twitter or any other platform for that matter? So I take a very quick look at what they're all about. Are they also creating content? How do they communicate across the board? Have they written any articles for any external resources? Collecting information about the interviewer, again, gives you some more power over the conversation, and you are also able to ask them smarter and more relevant questions because you know what they are doing in their job, and you can also reference maybe how long they worked at that company because you've seen it on LinkedIn, obviously. And that shows that you have also done your homework and you have looked at their profiles, not only them, and assessing who you are. Next, extremely important step in my opinion. This is so underrated, and I like to emphasize this as much as possible. Even if you don't get to do this for this current interview that you're preparing for, please start doing this as a regular practice and apply this for your following interviews in the future as well. And it is having a note-taking system. I talk about this more extensively in a previous video where I cover my note-taking approach for meetings, for work. And I do this personally on Notion, and I use a personal CRM to record every single information about a person that I'm going to meet and the details of the conversation that I have with them and all my questions and all my preparation notes, etc. So I have everything in one central hub, and this has served me extremely well, and I highly suggest that you create a system of your own, whether on Notion, whether on your Notes app, Google Docs, whatever is your choice. But having a note-taking system is going to make you so much smarter during the full interview process, and I am sure that I can attest maybe 25% of my success during this interview process to taking notes very diligently and very carefully during the interviews, because what this enables me to do is whenever I pass this interview and go into the next one, if I already have my notes in my note-taking system, then I can reference notes and answers or things that we've spoken about from the previous interview to my second interview, third interview, etc. So this shows that you are a prepared candidate. You're really interested and engaged in the conversations that you're having during this interview process. And this also gives you more power over the conversation because you're on top of the things that you have already talked about, and you already know some hints and tips from the previous person that can help you into the next conversation as well. And it just overall empowers you throughout the interview process and gives you more confidence in the conversations that you're having. So this is an absolute important staple piece in my preparation and the way to nail the interviews, I guess. What this also enables you to do, one more thing, is it gives you more information that you can use in your follow-up and thank you emails, because you've taken your notes and you know the important things that are that you can bring up in that thank you note to the person that you've just spoken with. So because of all of these reasons, and probably more reasons as well, this is extremely important. Highly suggest you find your own note-taking system. This doesn't require that much preparation, so I know this is last-minute interview tips. Just open up a notes document and write your notes while talking to the person during the interview. Next steps are going to sound a little bit easier compared to the previous ones that we talked about. This is right before the interview, like the final seconds. Clean up your background. If there is any clutter in your background that you don't want to be seen during the interview, clean up the mess. If you're not going to use your real background, make sure that you have already set up your virtual background on Google Meets, Zoom, whatever platform you're using. Make sure that you do those, settings or adjustments online just before you hop onto the meeting or start that meeting. Make sure that you have a microphone that's working. Make sure that you have your webcam set up that's working. If you need to do any final rounds of tests for your, hardware, do that before the interview so that you don't, lose precious moments or minutes when you actually start the interview duration. Next thing is, put on a lipstick, fix your hair. If you're in your remote work, just a casual outfit, change it to something that's more appropriate for the interview, and that is going to give you even more power during the interview. By the way, it's not only a good look in the eye of the person that you're meeting with, but it's also an empowering thing to do for yourself as well, because it's immediately going to give you a better and more confident look in the frame on the computer. And the final thing I want you to do, and if you know me from my previous content, you're gonna know that I can't close off this video before saying this, and that is a follow-up or thank you email, thank you note. This is, for me, something I never ever miss to do, because I think it's just it just shows good manners. It just re-emphasizes your interest in the role and the conversation that you've just had. So always send a thank you note and make it relevant and a little bit personalized if you can. I talk about this more extensively in some other videos, which you're going to see in the comment section or the description box below. If you have more time, watch those. If not, just know that sending a thank you note is a very, very good practice that is typically very much appreciated. So do that as a standard practice to close up your interviews in a good, solid way. Best of luck with your interviews. I wish you all the best. After the interviews, don't forget to come back and just leave me a comment down below to let me know how your interviews went. I really love seeing those notes from people. In a previous video I made around marketing job interview prep, there were so many comments from people telling me how their interviews went, when they secured the job offers, or that they were preparing for the interview in the very last minute and they were saying, 15 minutes before the interview, 30 minutes, 1 hour, 5 hours, etc. And that was really fun to see and have that conversation with you. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you found this helpful, and I'll see you next time. Take care, guys. Bye bye.